Hey friend, are you asking yourself, is this what I really want to be doing with my life? I don't think so. I think there's something else that I'm meant to be doing. Welcome to the Painting Your Path podcast, where we have real conversations about what it takes to step out, be bold, and do you. I'm your host, Clarissa Castillo-Ramsey. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome back to the Painting Your Path podcast. I'm your host, Clarissa Castillo-Ramsey. And today's episode is a powerful one, especially if you've ever felt frustrated, overwhelmed, or even hopeless when it comes to your health and healing journey. Today, I'm joined by Martin Pytela, a seasoned health coach and founder of Life Enthusiast, whose personal story of healing is as inspiring as it is eye-opening. We dive into the 4 pillars of chronic disease: toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, and trauma, and how they show up in the body. Martin shares actionable steps to begin the process of healing through detoxification, nutrient-dense foods, movement, and emotional release. We also touch on something personal to me, my journey with spasmodic dysphonia. And Martin puts me in the hot seat. So if you've been looking for more holistic and empowering perspective on health, this is your episode. Let's dive in. Martin, I am so excited to have you on the Painting Your Path podcast.
I'm really happy to be here. I'm delighted to meet you.
So I'd like to ask my guests, before we get into the meat of our conversation, just to share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Right. Well, today I'm a health coach. I run 2 companies. One manufactures superfoods, and the other one is a retail organization online where we help people with chronic degenerative metabolic diseases, of which there's no lack. All of that starts with the industrial age encroaching upon us and breaking us down. So illnesses that will go with high blood pressure or obesity or diabetes or heart disease or cancer or you name it, all the chronic ones, arthritis, fibromyalgia. There's a very, very broad range of problems, all of them inflammatory, and most of them modifiable by inputs, by what we do. So that's the business I'm in. How I got here is I was a happy 25-year-old graduate of a business school, and then I ended up with 12 fillings in my teeth. I didn't know. I was given a choice. They said, "Hey, you want the white ones or the silver ones?" And I said, "Is there a difference?" And they said, "Well, the silver ones will last longer. They don't look as nice, but and also they don't cost extra. The white ones were extra." And I said, "Any other difference?" And they said, "No." Ha! Ha ha! It was mercury silver amalgam, the most toxic thing you can put into a human body. So the next 10 years, I was in a health decline. That was pretty dramatic. I had a lot of problems. I had primarily immune system shutting down, the physical structure breaking down. I had carpal tunnel syndrome. I had plantar fasciitis. I had bad back. I had migraines. I was suicidal. I had all kinds of bad things going on. And then finally, about 10 years in, I finally gave up on the orthopedic surgeon, the chiropractor, the naturopath, and all the exotic, esoteric stuff that I tried, and finally said, what about your training? You're a systems analyst. Analyze this. And so I read a lot of books, because that was 1984 to 89. And then no internet, just libraries. and I figured it out. And so I healed myself from it, and the rest is the history. I gave up on being a business consultant, and I became a health coach for people because I find it very, what shall we call it? Satisfying, fulfilling. That would be a word for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're so grateful for you because, like you said, there's no shortage of things happening, inflammation.
Yeah.
And before we hit record, we talked about my vocal condition,
Yeah.
spasmodic dysphonia, which we'll get into in a moment. But I'm so happy that you're here to help us.
Yeah.
Also, like I live in Altadena, California. We just had the wildfires at the beginning of the year. That has caused a lot of people stress, anxiety,
Yeah.
trauma, all those
Oh,
things.
all of it.
All
Yeah.
of it. So I'd
Yeah.
first like to just ask you, like, how can we begin to
Yeah.
restore mindset back to healthy?
Yeah, how do we get into it? From my perspective, I try to always organize things, classify things, make it understandable. So
Yes.
for me to understand this chronic disease, I say it stands on four pillars, and they would be toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, and trauma. And in reverse, trauma would be stuff that's invisible, usually in the emotional realm. It's usually stored in the soft tissues of the body. It usually is something that happened to us through childhood and onward that has programmed us in ways that are not good, not creative, not ecological, not helpful. And one other trauma that's invisible that I add here is the electromagnetic radiation that we're now including in our environment. It's invisible, but it's very much expressed in our human bodies. And I can get to you the how in a moment. And then stagnation, that's something that we're responsible for. We humans are a dynamic creature. We interact with our environment. We're not static. A static system would be a marble statue. It stays unchanging for a long time, but it has no interaction with the environment. We do. And inhale, exhale, and eat food and get rid of whatever's left over. And all these things are requiring us to interact and move. We are built for chopping wood, carrying water, exercise, physical work, field work, hunting, all of that. That's all the human experience. And now the modern days, the industrial age, makes us sedentary. Like, look at you and I right now, sitting
Eat.
at a desk, looking at a tiny little screen, talking.
Yes.
That's unhealthy, really.
Yeah, it would be much nicer if we were in person and walking and talking and recording, right?
I'd love that. Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
we can do that for the follow up.
Yes. Yes. And so that's stagnation. And the biggest issue with stagnation is the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is all the fluids other than your blood that are in your body washing all your cells. And your cells take up nutrients from it, but also return metabolites into it. And so if that thing is not moving, and it's not moving if we're not moving because it has no pump of its own, it requires us moving against gravity. We stagnate, and with stagnation comes putrefaction and putrefaction, and we start smelling bad, and bad things happen to us. Anyway, stagnation, it's really an enemy of healthy existence. And then malnutrition, that comes by very easy because industrial food production is not returning to the fields what it takes out. We put in fertilizer, but that's only NPK. That would be the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. They help the plants to grow strong and fast, but there's no trace mineral being added. Rock dusting is not a regular practice. The soils are being depleted of nutrients. And this is documented. Our food as we have it today is only about 10% the mineral content of food that was grown 150 years ago. And these would be the calcium, magnesium, copper, zinc, phosphorus, the minerals that are not being replenished. And the other thing with nutrition is that we are living in a calorie rich but nutrient poor food style. This is by government policy, by design, which I surely hope and pray will get changed. Anyway, we subsidize grains. We take tax dollars and we push subsidies to farmers, and we let them grow wheat, barley, corn, rice, chickpeas, lentils, soy. Those are all carbohydrate storage foods. Lots of energy, but not much nutrition. Nutrition comes more from the salad, the broccoli, the carrots, the lentil, or the what else? Green onion, bok choy, su choy cabbage, all the stuff that is colors other than white. Yeah, so anyway, nutrient density is an issue, and we end up eating more calories than nutrients that we require. So at the end of pizza, your body says, you have not fed me well enough. And it gets swapped by, well, eat more then. Well, if you eat more pizza, it's not going to get any better. You will just put on weight without getting healthier. So that's the issue with the calorie density. The industrial age has brought to us so many conveniences, so many. We live more comfortably than we ever have, with less labor requirement. It's not helping because we don't have to exercise as much. And the shadow side, or the dark side of this, is the pollution. We have heavy metals, we have plastics, we have volatile organic compounds, we have it in the air, in water, in food, in cosmetics, in cleaning products, in furnitures. All of this is coming into our environment and making us more toxic. You mentioned the forest fire, or the fires in Los Angeles, in California. Visualize this. For something like 150 years, there has been all this pollution going in the air and then raining down on the forest. And then you burn it in one go. All of this goes up in the air right there. And then, of course, when you burn cars or I don't know, furniture or whatever equipment, all of that puts out phenomenal amount of chemical pollution in the air. And so as it comes down back on us again, we end up having to deal with it. Anyway, we're more toxic now than we have ever been. There was a study done 20 years ago by National Geographic. They took the umbilical cord blood from children up in Alaska. Every one of them had chemicals in it, 200 different toxins that it's all around the planet. If you burn something up in China, it actually goes up in the air, hits the jet stream. The jet stream puts it in the clouds, and it will rain on the Pacific Ocean, and the fish will get it, or it will rain on the fields in America, and will eat it. So it's not going away. We are putting dirt into our own nests and living in it. So that's the story of how we get to illness caused by the industrial age, which these are all the new problems, right? Autism in children and ADD, ADHD, and chronic diseases that will include arthritis and cancer and heart disease and all of the stuff that was pretty much unknown 3 generations ago before the industrial age took off.
Yes. And that's this is so helpful to know this system. I love how you said that, breaking it down for us. And we don't have enough time to for you to go into solutions for all of this, but could you share maybe something that we can start with under each of these four
Right.
causes to help us get back to that
Yeah,
healthy
indeed.
mindset?
Yes. Well, so in the toxicity, my number one go-to, the one that saved me, is called zeolite. That's spelled Zeolite. It's a binder. It binds toxic things. The one that I use all the time is in this cute little bottle. It's called Masterpiece. You can find it on the Life Enthusiast website, and it's a binder. It will take the toxic plastics, toxic volatile organic compounds, the toxic metals, and all of that. It will bind it and help extract it out of the body. It's an example. There are many others, but this is the one that I use myself a lot. That would be the first line of attack. In foods, I would say push nutrient density. Lower the calorie intake, increase the nutrient intake. I mentioned that I have 2 businesses. One of them is manufacturing of superfoods. We actually make these food concentrates that compensate for the deficit that is found in the normal groceries and restaurant foods that you would get there.
I have a question, Martin. There's also a lot of talk about increasing protein. What are your thoughts about that?
All right. Well, one of the ways I'm educated is it's called metabolic typing. I'm a certified metabolic typing advisor. And metabolic typing will reveal to us how our genetics dictate what foods, macronutrients, we will do well with. And the macronutrients are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And in this system, carbohydrates drive us in one direction and proteins and fats in another. I don't know if we have the time to get deep into it, but the pH balance within us, when we alkalize, we we enable the parasympathetic side of our autonomic nervous system. So that's better sleep, better repairs, relaxation. But if we overdo it, we procrastinate, we become despondent, and we could be depressed from too much alkalinity. Acidity is the side of the autonomic nervous system where the sympathetic side starts, where we get things done. We're more active, but if we overdo it, we become very impatient and we end up in the anxiety territory where we are, well, anxiety, it's a known thing. ADD, impatience, nervousness, but anxiety could be a real debilitating thing because mild form is I'm motivated. Heavy form is I'm debilitated. And then further out is out and out paranoia, which nobody wants that. That's mental illness. Anyway, so the pH balance. Some of us are called oxidizers, and we're alkalized by fats and proteins and acidified by carbs. Some of us are the autonomics, the other way around, where we are alkalized by carbs and acidified by fats and proteins. So complete opposite. Like we could be left-handed, right-handed. We could be calmer by fats or calmer by carbs. And so when you're saying promote protein, well, it depends on your body type. For some people, it's a calming thing that will help them be balanced. And for others, it will be the tool that will cause them to be supremely mentally mm, out of harmony. Let's start with that.
And Martin, can I ask, like, how, okay, aside from taking your um, metabolism assessment, can people do, can they experiment with different food to just
Absolutely.
see how they react?
Yeah, that's the best way to
Okay.
find out. Yeah, give yourself a fat challenge and a carbo challenge. And the carbo challenge, let's do a bowl of porridge with a banana and a glass of orange juice. Carb, carb, carb. Alcohol is
That would put me to sleep.
there you go.
I know that about myself.
Yeah, and that's the autonomic. And so if you want to be active and get stuff done, you will push fats and proteins. And so the opposite would be let's try an omelet, some eggs with maybe even some sausage or bacon or meat or whatever. Right? So for you, overdoing the fats will make you anxious, and overdoing the fats will put you to sleep. Sorry, I misspoke. And overdoing the carbs will put you to sleep. Right?
Fascinating.
But not everybody's like you. There are people
Right.
who are completely the opposite reaction. So you asked, well, what about proteins? Um, they are the highest density way of getting nutrients, right? Like the cow or the chicken took plant food, plant ingredients, and processed it through its body and is offering it now to us. Thank you for your sacrifice, um, for us to be nourished by it. Chicken soup,
That's
absolutely. Why not?
right. And so, question about vegetables, because I love vegetables. And you said that our food is not the same. Definitely not the same. Should we be always buying organic? Or is there anything else you can say about our vegetables, our
Right.
fruits?
You know, this is such a sad story for me to tell, right? You heard me talk about you burn it in China, it goes up in the air and it rains on us. So even the organic field in California is getting rained on the pollution that we've put up in the air. So even that is less than perfect. But I promise you that if you eat food that has been treated with herbicide and pesticide and well, whatever chemicals, that's much worse. Let me explain these 2 points. Microbiome, the microbes living within us, is a supremely important part of our existence. And bad microbiome leads to leaky gut, and leaky gut leads to allergies, and leaky gut gives you leaky brain, and you get either dysfunction in the immune system or in your ability to think or your ability to interact. And the question I want to ask you is this: why do we put chlorine in drinking water? Well, we put it there to kill harmful bacteria. Well, it actually kills all bacteria. So if you drink chlorinated water, if you don't filter the chlorine out of the drinking water, what are you going to do? You're going to kill the microbes within you. So one of the horrible things you can do to your children is to tell them to drink water from the water fountains in school or at school.
Yes. Well,
So that's one. That's chlorine.
okay.
The other
Yeah.
one, the other one is called glyphosate or Roundup. That also is an antibiotic. It was actually originally patented as an antibiotic, and the way it kills the plant is that it kills the microbes at the root of the plant, and the microbes are that which enables the plant to extract nutrients from the soil. So you kill the plant. Well, if I were a plant, my roots would be the villi that are inside of my small intestine where the food comes in, so it can extract the nutrients from it. So eating food that is industrial production in the United States, which these days wheat, lentil, chickpeas, those are all treated with glyphosate before they're harvested.
Yikes, good to know.
So that you asked me, should I eat organic? Yes, especially things that have herbicide or pesticide associated with it. The
It.
uh, the fertilizer is not so bad, other than that it causes the food to be low in nutrient density. We need slow food, not fast food.
Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. And then you did talk about what we can do for stagnation. We basically need to move, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
is there anything else, Martin, that you can add to say about overcoming stagnation to get back to a healthy
All right. Yeah.
mindset?
Okay. Well, walking is the most effective way. And the reason I say walking is because with every step, you raise your center of gravity, not that much, 1 or 2 inches. And as you go, you are pumping the system, and the system starts at the feet and goes up to here. And the lymphatic system interconnects with your circulatory system up here, just above your clavicles. And um, so walking for sure. If you don't have an easy access to that, then rebounding, mini trampolines are really efficient. And if you can't exercise at all, then please get at least one of those vibrating plates that you can put a chair on it or bed on it. You want to move the person up and down so that things move.
A bouncy chair,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Yes,
And then, of
right.
course, lymphatic massage. We can do it to ourselves, or at least have somebody do it for us. There are courses about it out there. Dry skin brushing is helpful,
Yes.
but massage is even better.
Good, because I just got one yesterday.
And you probably feel a lot better for it.
Yes, that is for sure.
Yeah,
Wonderful,
yeah,
wonderful. And then also trauma. We talked about that.
right,
Anything that you can add to help us move through it to get back to a healthier
right.
mindset.
Yeah. Well, trauma will happen to all of us, right? And it's less about what happens out there and more about how we store it in our body,
Right.
right? To one person, it's going to be a mild something. To another, it's going to be career-ending situation. We all end up seeing things we should never have seen, or hearing things that we should not have heard. But anyway, the solutions are not in talking therapy. When you review a memory that is traumatizing to you, all you're doing is just re-traumatizing yourself. It's just reliving the same thing over and over. The solutions are with systems that will drain the subconscious, the thought form, out of your body. So the methods that we have, one of them is called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, also known as tapping. That's really, really effective. Body talk, quantum healing, emotion code, touch for health, neuro linguistic programming. There are awesome methods, all of which will deal with retraining the body with how it interprets some stored memory. Mm.
Thank you for sharing that with us to remind us that there's many things that we can do to help us move out of that loop.
Right.
Yes.
In fact, in fact, I remember one of the books I've read and one of the systems I've used. It was John Sarno, Sarno. John Sarno is no longer alive, but he left behind a body of work. And one of the books that he left behind is called Mind Body Prescription. And in that, he describes the method he used with people about migraines, but it could be about anything. And you essentially renegotiate with your subconscious mind the symptoms that it's presenting. The reason I'm bringing it up is I'm thinking this dystonia that you're
Yes.
experiencing may
Yes, which
be,
I wanted to talk about.
it may be just one of those things where your subconscious mind has decided that it was important to distract you from something with something else. When John Sarno talked about it, he talked about rage that's within us, anger at something that we cannot express. We cannot put it out there because that's unacceptable. We ourselves know it's unacceptable. We want to get it out there, but instead we repress it, suppress it, and redirect it. And it's not a conscious decision, it's the subconscious part of our existence that's driving this. And it decides that it's going to create this distraction that's going to be better than letting the rage out, but it ends up being destructive towards us.
Yes, absolutely.
And
And
so
yeah,
it's possible that with the right therapy, tapping might be it for you, where we
yeah,
say, tap, 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 there goes these words that go with it. And it's usually is, I don't know why, but I'm willing to explore the possibility that this condition that I'm currently experiencing is changeable and can be released and replaced by something much more pleasant. And then we
yes,
start diving in on the whys, right? Like I'm letting go of the grievance that I have toward my spouse, and the grievance I have towards my mother, and the grievance I have towards my father and sibling and whatever, and just letting these things go. And as these layers upon layers of emotional harm are let go, we may be able to get to the core of it. And finally, we can say, I am willing to let go of this. And once we do, the body will decide, okay, yeah, we can let go of this. And instead I don't know what will happen instead, right?
right.
We need to ask for something that's ecological and harmless, because you don't really want to replace a dystonia with a blindness or cancer.
No,
We don't want to do that,
definitely not.
right? Like we want
Right.
something other than that.
Yes. And I've shared this before and I'll share it again. This definitely started when I was supremely stressed out, burned out. I got sick and I was suppressing my voice with where I wanted to go with business. You started out as a business consultant, shifted to health coaching.
Yeah.
And for me, I started out in a niche because I had to start. But I started going down this path
Mhm.
that I was like, I don't want to go down this path anymore. And that's when this happened. And so I have shifted to come back to creativity because I'm also an artist and focusing more on creativity and wellness. And so my voice has gone from completely not being able to make any sound to now kind of like it's here sometimes, it's not here sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you have certain
Yeah.
registers, like your child register. Just switch your pitch and talk at me in soprano.
Oh, yeah. And when I talk really high, it is okay.
It's perfectly healthy, right?
Yeah.
So there's something about your child voice that is
Yeah.
perfectly fine and healthy, and there's something about your adult voice, your full expression at the world, that is being punished somehow. And well, anyway, I'm speculating at this point, but there's something buried within your subconscious mind that is telling you that you should not or mustn't be allowed to do this.
Uh, and it was. I should not, must not be an artist.
Ah,
That is something that I've had to work through.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah,
But this has been quite a journey.
yeah.
Quite a journey.
And so,
Yeah.
I'm going to just go on the limb and speculate, right? Like the other most famous person with voice dystonia is Robert Kennedy, and he's
Yes.
very visible. And he said that he was fine until he was 42 years old, which is about 28 years ago. And I'm thinking, what did he learn at that time that he decided he could not tell the world? I don't know, right? I'm not intimate in
Right.
his life. I don't know. But there is something that happened in his life that he had to repress. And
Yeah.
it's an emotional injury more than anything else.
Yeah. To be continued.
Okay, let's see if we can find you a therapist, body talk, emotion code, tapping, something,
Yeah.
something. They're out there. Even neurolinguistic programming could do it.
Yes.
What we need to do is we need to find the version of you that is strong in her voice, perfectly healthy, able to speak full force and loudly. And we need to release that person from the shackles that the subconscious is holding her in.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I hereby give you the permission, my child, to let go.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, we can talk about that off offline. Um, but for now, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience about getting back to a healthy mindset or anything else about your work?
Right. Well, whatever it is that brings a person out of balance, right? There are usually these stair steps. We usually feel invincible and bulletproof and immortal at 25. And by the time we're 35, we're noticing that things are not nearly as wonderful because we have run out of enzyme reserves and we're starting the aging process. And by 45, we really notice it. The reproductive age is usually pretty close to over. And by 55, we have lost hormonal balances and many other things, and so on. So, if we are on the regular trajectory, we suffer these losses of ability. And the question is, are you aging because you have lost enzymes, or is it that because you're aging, you're losing enzymes? And so we tried to do the experiment. Okay, let's put the enzymes back into the picture. What will happen? And lo and behold, the body starts working like it's young. You can do the same thing with hormones, with enzymes, with minerals, and so on. So, a lot of problems that we experience are actually nutritional deficiencies. That's um, well, that was the two on my list, malnutrition. And the other one is the blocking of the natural expression of the homeostatic system, the health of our body. And that's usually blocked by the toxicities, the stuff that needs to come out of our body that shouldn't be there.
Yes. And we will have the links to your site and to all the things so people can learn more and check out what you
Yeah.
have to offer.
Yeah. I
So,
find, yeah, I find I'm not that different from others, other than I'm a systems analyst by trade, and I like to make things structured and systemized and logical. And so I approach everything from empowering the client by teaching them what they need to know. Because once
and
they
that's
know, they
perfect.
don't have to be asking me silly questions. They don't need to be
Yes.
asking me which specific product do I need to take and how much and how often and when. It's this. I tell them, well, do you need to ask me how much cucumber you want to have in your salad and when you want to eat?
Yes.
No, you don't.
Right.
Nutrition is all in that pile. So
Yeah.
once you learn, you don't need to be asking me. And that's what I really like, because I like to teach people how to be masters of their own domain.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Well, thank you for that, Martin. And I'm going to shift us to what I call rapid fire questions so people can get to know you even more.
All right.
So, I don't know if you have a word of the year, but if you do, what is your word of the year?
The word of the year, censorship.
Censorship. Oh, tell us. I have to ask. Tell me more about that.
I surely hope it's over. We have been
Yes.
censored by the deep state. We have, especially in the health space, we have been gaslighted and minimized and ridiculed and all of that. And I sure as heck hope that it's over.
Got it. What is a current obsession of yours?
Obsession. Hmm.
It could be a
No,
food, it could
that's
be a.
just it's not current. It's 20 years, 30 years. I'm
Yes.
still obsessed with the same thing. But I tell you this much, I'm enjoying interacting with my grandsons. I have two grandchildren,
Oh,
and I wouldn't call it an obsession, but it's the enjoyment. And I get to think about what we have done to the environment and how it's projecting
yeah.
itself upon our grandchildren. And I'm very much focused on that.
Yes. Beautiful. How about a favorite vacation spot?
If I were to choose a vacation today, I would go to northern Italy and I would hang out there. I would go to Torino or someplace like that, and I would do a tour of a country where food is still safe to eat.
Oh, lovely. How about a book that you think everyone should read?
Oh, Lord.
And you already named Sarno. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
Sarno is
That is a
definitely
good
a good
one.
read.
Yeah. Anything else?
Um, well, on the spiritual path, A Course in Miracles is my thing. On health path, I would say, I've been listening to podcasts, so I'm mostly in my ears
Oh, go for
reading stuff.
it. Yeah.
And, there's a lot of good stuff out there. I've been listening to Gary Brecka, and I've been listening to Joe Rogan, and I keep listening to stuff. I mean, I spend easily 2 3 hours a day learning new things, and so that's my lifelong commitment, learning.
Nice. And where is the best place for people to connect with you, Martin?
Well, reach me on the website, life-enthusiast.com. Book an appointment. There's a little appointment calendar. You can get 15 minutes of my time to answer your specific questions. And we have
Awesome.
support people answering the website chat. And
Great.
yeah.
And the last question that I have, which I ask all my guests, the name of this podcast is Painting Your Path. What does painting your path mean to you?
It's just abstract as it goes. All right. The main difference between choosing and not choosing, I would say, victimhood versus agency. So take up the mantle, take up the decision, decide that the path that I'm going to unfold forward is of my choosing rather than of random effects of others. I refuse to be a victim of the circumstance. I instead choose to respond and put myself on it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Martin. And thank you for being here today with us.
It's a real delight. Thank you, Clarissa. Thank you for having me here.
Yes. And as I like to ask everybody at the end of every interview, what's your biggest takeaway? There's a lot of juice that we have in this episode. So tell me on social media. And until next time, keep painting your path. Thank you so much for staying till the very end. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend. If you haven't had a chance yet, please write a review and rate the show. I would love to hear your feedback. And I also have a free resource guide for anybody who is asking themselves, am I on the right path for myself now? Or is there something else that I really want to do? Maybe you're in that quandary. Maybe you're wondering what's next. So head over to the show notes and you'll see my Painting Your Path framework guide, download it, and have some fun. Just start exploring. And thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you next week.